Hello and welcome to this, your daily briefing. It's a little bit overcast, but quite balmy, be able to cope. Today's schedule consists of, I've got some Jose Mourinho quotes, which is another day, another metaphorical kicking for our friend Daniel Levy, some Twitter funnies, and some updates on the situation with Fonseca from Italy, which hopefully should give us something. I don't know. You tell me. I'll give you the quotes and then I'll give you my spin, and as ever, the comments is where the magic happens. And thanks for all the subscriptions. Keep those coming. I make mistakes sometimes. I haven't always chosen the right project, or how I may have been misled about the path of some projects. The special one admitted. I've made mistakes, or I've been led in a dishonest way into accepting what I shouldn't have. But in the end, it's all the same. Those are available from a GQ interview he did, which I picked up via the Daily Mail. It's worth having a nose at and making your own mind up, and that's going to be a recurring theme, I'm afraid, on here, because that's the way we work. As to whether he's talking about Spurs specifically, I would suggest to you that he is. The deal with Mourinho is always very straightforward, and his time at Tottenham was plagued, in my book, by jackals that snapped along during the time he was here, during the process. They haunted him. I'm not saying they had any diverse effect. I'm not saying it was all their fault or anything like it. But I'm just saying that there were people out there who had appeared never to have encountered Mourinho before, and have a very limited understanding of his working methods, which were always the same. Which is that, he came in, there was a happy arrival. He'd fall out with those that didn't want to work to his levels, his standards, or adopt what he was trying to inflict upon them. And then, it's natural that you're going to get football, which is, shall we say, swashbuckling light with him. And yes, that does mean being defensive, because whilst winning games is down to scoring goals, it's also down to not conceding them. A fact that some appear to have forgotten. And then ultimately, always with Mourinho, there's a tear-up just before he leaves. And modern football, I keep on telling people, nobody stays forever anymore. Forget about it. It's 2 years, it's 3 years, and then move on. And this is to do with as much as the churn of the clubs is always slower than the manager. So we've now, in the 21st century, developed a culture of fans who look at managers and say, oh yeah, but he's, Yes, people need money in order to effect meaningful change with football clubs. There is no magic little cuddle. There is no magic system. You can say what you want, but you need to spend money. And that's the way the game works. And it's very rare that clubs spend sufficient amounts of money to keep decent coaches with enough product to use. Their demands are always high. So this is why Pep Guardiola and Conte and Mourinho, all of these elite managers, they need to be funded. That's not a weakness, by the way. That's just how the world works. If you want to buy a decent car, then you need to spend the money. You can't go to the junkyard and start thinking, well, if I work my way through everything, I'm bound to find a Ferrari that just needs. It doesn't work like that. You need to spend the money. We'll shove the Twitter funnies in because these are quite good. Dan M 1970s. Imagine when Southgate gets the Spurs job when we lose to the Czechs. It's looking likely. Yeah, isn't it just? Southgate last night, I watched the game, which was appalling. He is a very, very strange character. He is so politically correct and so corporate. I just don't know. I just don't know. I was talking to my pub landlord the other week, and he was saying to me that I think he was talking about Shankly, and Souness or something had said to him, what do you want me to do? And he said, well, I've just paid 300,000 for you. I think we would expect you to know what to do. the idea of a coach is to coach players and not to present them with a whole load of problems and a raft of paperwork and guidelines and booklets and overhead projector images and PowerPoint. Just let them play to their strengths. Harry Kane had a dreadful game. Well, no, he didn't. He didn't get past two. So it's just crazy. Jimmy B. Cooper. It was the self-imposed 550-day transfer ban that killed us. Levy was focused on the stadium and failing to get his targets. He messed up. Chelsea had an actual transfer ban and still signed 2 players. Spot on from Jimmy B. And Josh, which is THFC Josh H, replied to, I can't even remember what it was. It might have been one of those from the Spurs official Twitter feed. They put out a thing, it was a year to the day that Steven Bergwijn scored, and he just replied, "Stop tweeting." So, the Fonseca stuff. This is almost interesting. Just shuffle my notes. My thanks to Corriere Dello Sport, and this comes via Dr. Hackenbush on Twitter. So it's always nice to be atted in these things when you find something that's of use. So according to them, they're saying, and I'm just going to spin through this because this isn't like a complicated tale, and it tallies up with some stuff. And anyway, they're saying that the Fonz was Spurs' first choice, and the club initially reached out to him in April. Now bear in mind that Mourinho was sacked on April 19th, so it could have been that Levy was actually doing his usual, machinations behind the dark arts business, but this time around he just hasn't pulled it off. So it said that Levy and co were attracted by his offensive mentality, and they got good references back about him as a character, about him as a human being, which is cool. Enter stage left Paratici, and they're suggesting that Paratici spent 2 days with Fonseca at Lake Como, which I have to tell you is a very beautiful part of the world. And now pay attention to this one line: planning strategies and discussing every detail. Okay, you made a mental note of that, huh? Oh, this is the funny part. Paratici reassures. It's what happens when you read, you see. So he reassures the Fonz about Harry Kane's confirmation, which I presume isn't a Catholic thing, but he's staying, despite the captain's wishes to leave, or might be leaving, have been expressed publicly. So, after this meeting, there is a sense that the deal is done, and Fonseca's attorney, Marco Abreu, finds an agreement with the club for a 3-year deal, complete with a visa application which is sent to the British Embassy. However, now you remember that line I told you to remember, planning strategies and discussing every detail. However, it is Paratici who changes course when he realises that Fonseca would like to play with a preferred setup of 4-2-3-1 and not with the 3-man defence. So that's one to consider for perhaps another day, but if Spurs want to play with 3 at the back, yeah, okay. So they had this 2-day meeting at Lake Como, and perhaps they were distracted by the vista because they didn't discuss, based on this, the system he wanted to play, which, yeah, doesn't make any sense. And this makes a ton of sense, however. Hot on the heels, the other disagreement arises on the staff, deeply renewed by the coach after the unfortunate experience at Roma. Paratici would like to impose a pool of professionals directly emanating from the company. Now this is Google Translate, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I hear it get called terrible names, but it gives us a good flavour, and also the Italian language is extremely flowery. So this fits in with what we heard from the Conte discussions, that Daniel Levy wants to impose Ryan Mason and Ledley King on whoever the new guy is. And this then goes on, and it says that Paratici came away from things, and there was a proposed visit to the stadium and the unveiling and all the rest of it. You remember when I said to you about 3 days ago, where is he? What's going on? Well, that's because obviously I had a sixth sense that things were overdue. Something that had been set up had subsequently been cancelled. And it finishes up with the fact that Gattuso breaks from Fiorentina. And without a phone call to the Fonz, Paratici apparently reaches out to the little headbanger. And you can imagine how Fonseca took that. This is chaos. This is absolute chaos. 60 days without a manager. Mourinho, in his quotes from the Daily Mail there, tells us everything we need to know. Spurs are no longer being taken seriously by anybody. We couldn't get a tune out of Mourinho because we were so goddamn focused on doing it the Daniel Levy way. It's a huge sadness, it's a huge sorrow, it's heartbreaking. I don't know what to tell you. This situation, the Gattuso trending, not in my name or whatever it was, Gattuso out before he's even got in, hashtag, that was a disaster, and now it looks like we've made a complete and utter disgrace of ourselves in relation to the Fonz, who may or may not have been everybody's first choice in the first instance. Any more that I get, I shall share with you and ask you for your opinions. But yeah, thanks for the responses. The comments are brilliant. The subscriptions are even better, so I'm told by my advisors. Yeah, we'll speak again. Keep it Tottenham.